Most of us tend to think of car insurance as a bit of a rip-off, but recently my mate Rob had a small accident and that highlighted something that really shocked me. In this video, I'm going to explain what happened, but also we're going to talk to an insurance expert to find out how we can best protect ourselves if the same thing happens to us. Now, when we talk about insurance rip-offs, what immediately springs to mind is unreasonable premiums or renewal, or even more often that when you do try and claim, the insurance company will try and wriggle out of it, either with some obscure footnote in the original contract saying that you're not actually covered for that particular occurrence, or they will try not to pay in full. But what happened to my mate Rob really is quite shocking, and it's not an isolated occurrence. It is something that is built into the insurance system. He bought this Volvo for a couple of £1,000 a few months back. And last week, as he was driving through a village at about 15-20 miles an hour, somebody was pulling out of their driveway, didn't see him, and just about kissed the side of the car. The damage doesn't look too bad, but unfortunately, it is worse than you would think. Because this part here has been bent inwards, when you open the door, the two surfaces touch. So it's a question of straightening it all out, and it makes it more expensive. Now, had it just been a normal little dent, maybe that you could pull out, fill and paint, maybe £100, £200 to get fixed. Because of what it is, it's going to be more around the £600 mark. So unfortunately, it does become a matter for the insurance. However, with the way that the accident happened, this is clearly a case where he is not at fault, and the other driver has admitted responsibility. So in theory, all should be well. The other driver will claim on their insurance. My mate will get his car fixed. It will be no cost to him. The other driver will have to pay an excess, I guess, and perhaps their premiums will go up, but that will be the end of it, right? Wrong. Now, Rob doesn't know that much about cars, so when this all happened, he rang me and he said, look, I've got this situation where the car was tapped. The other driver has admitted responsibility. They're going to claim on their insurance. That's not going to affect mine, is it? And I just thought back, and at first I thought, no, of course it won't. It's a no-fault claim, not made by you, so it will be fine. But then in the back of my mind, I remembered hearing a while ago that even if you had a no-fault accident, it would still, and someone else paid, all the rest of it took responsibility, it could still affect your insurance. So I did a little bit of research. Although somewhere along the line I had heard that this might be the case, I think the whole concept was so outrageous that I just completely wiped it from my mind. But this is what I found. So first of all, the definition of a no-fault claim is one in which your insurance provider has recovered all costs associated with your insurance claim from a third party. The third party will have taken full financial responsibility, crucially, and your insurance provider is not out of pocket. So what I found then seemingly makes absolutely no sense. And it's the following. Any non-fault and fault claim made by you will be recorded as part of your claim's history. So the fault claim, okay, I get that. In many cases, premiums do increase even after a non-fault claim. This is because your insurance provider will see you as a higher risk going forwards, even if you are not at fault. Unfortunately, it's also likely that you will lose your no claims bonus if you make a no fault claim. This is because, strictly speaking, you have made a claim even if the claim results in a payment from a third party. How absolutely outrageous is all of that? Even the no claims goes, even though it's completely not your fault. Now, already there are many ways with which insurance companies try and discourage us from making a rightful claim. The first is the excess. So if the claim is too small, your excess says £300 and it takes perhaps £200-300 to fix, doesn't make sense to contact the insurance, therefore you're not going to bother doing that. The second way is if you have still a no-fault accident, but the other party isn't there to take responsibility. For example, if your car is vandalized, or if someone parks, while they're parking, scratches your car but then doesn't leave a note, then that becomes a fault claim. It's not your fault technically, but because there is no other party to take the claim, it is logged as a fault claim. Therefore, you will do everything in your power, unless it is a really big amount, not to claim. Now, those I all knew about already, didn't think maybe they were all correct, but I could understand them. But this, it now seems that even if it is a no-fault claim that somebody else has taken responsibility for, is paying for, not down to you or your driving, they are still going to class it as a claim and your insurance premium could go up. Now, perhaps none of this comes as a shock to you. Maybe I'm the only moron who didn't realise that this was the case. But it just seemed to me that it's just such an outrageous and unfair practice that I think part of me just didn't want to believe that it was true. This all has the accumulative effect of discouraging all but the most essential claims. Insurance companies justify this by saying that even if you are part of a no-fault claim, but that has happened to you, you are then statistically more likely to take part or to be part of another no-fault claim. Now, that makes absolutely no sense to me, and it seems to me that it's just a very convenient system to, again, avoid paying out. If this happens to you, what are your options? Let's have a chat with Tim Kelly at Motor Claim Guru and find out.
Hi, Jack. Yeah, thanks for inviting me on again. Very much appreciated. In relation to what's the best thing to do when you're involved in an incident that isn't your fault, and you are pretty much tied up to two different options. You either claim or you don't claim. Now, in a situation where somebody has hit your vehicle and damaged it in some way, and it's very much dependent on the cost involved. It could be on a car park and a small car park scuff, or it could be somebody's gone into the back of you in a roundabout. The two are very different. Then you might well find that the person suggests, can they settle it without contacting the insurance companies? Now, depending on the actual cost involved, there are pros and cons attached to that. If it was something small, it might be in your interest to do it, and also the person who's hit you, it's in their interest. But if the damage is greater, I wouldn't suggest it. Now, the reasons being is that most people aren't aware of the cost of repairing vehicles, which can be much greater than they expect. But in a situation where it is a small scuff on a vehicle, then the best way to then do it, and this protects both parties rather than just you, is that you want to have some type of contract where it outlines how the incident happened, what the damage is to your vehicle, and the settlement that's been agreed in. Both parties agree to it. And the fundamental part of it is that it needs to be agreed as full and final settlement. So in the event that any insurance company queries it in the future, you then get a document signed by all parties to say it's been agreed as a civil agreement. And there wasn't any need there for it to go through an insurance company as a claim. Now, the alternative to that is that you do need to claim. And looking at the approaches taken to do that, you can either claim through your own insurance company. Again, there's pros and cons to this. The pros to it are, in the event that something goes wrong and you're not happy, and there is some type of dispute in some way as a complaint, then you can go to the ombudsman. The alternative is if you claim directly through the other insurance company, which I recommend you never ever do because it can potentially affect your lawful entitlement, is that in the event there's a complaint, you can't go to the ombudsman. So I'd recommend not even speaking with the other party's insurance company. But the safest way forward in the event you have an incident like that is to claim through your own insurance.
Okay, that's great. So the contract that you mentioned, first of all, I just want to say that's available on your website, I presume?
It's not, but I can put it up. That's something I can do for you.
Okay, well, I'll put the link up in the video description. So if you make sure it's somewhere on your website, then if anyone needs to use it, then they can go and get it.
Yeah, I can do it so they can just download it straight on. It's just a basic, simple template.
Yeah, that's the first thing. Now, secondly, I just wanted to ask you a bit more about why this is happening, because I think there are plenty of circumstances which I judge to be unfair, but I understand why they happen. So let me give you an example. About 3 years ago, I had a Peugeot 205. It was parked legally outside my house. I wasn't even in it. And overnight, someone who was reversed into it, crashed into it, left without leaving a note, anything like that. I found it like that. Reported it to the insurance. Now, that is not my fault. But because there is nobody else that they can approach to get their money back, they will class that as a fault claim. I don't like that, but I understand it, okay? But in this case, they have a third party who's willing to pay, for the damage, or the insurance will pay for the damage to my mate's car. that they have admitted completely liability. It's very straightforward. It just doesn't seem to make any sense that the insurance company is not just penalising the one who made the mistake, because they are, because their premiums will go up. But they're also going to penalise my friend who has done absolutely nothing wrong. So how on earth does that happen? It just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, with that, I agree with you completely. I think it's totally wrong, and it gets really, really complex as an explanation, so I'll try and keep it short and concise. But what you have is that in the event that somebody has damaged your vehicle, it comes under an aspect of law which is called the law of tort, which is a civil wrong. In the event that as a result of somebody else's negligence, you've had some type of financial loss as a result of it, then you should be able to claim that back from the liable party. So there is an argument that if in the event you've been involved in an incident like this, and then you notify your insurance the year after and your premiums go up, then you should potentially be able to claim that increased premium back from the other party if they're liable for it. But insurance companies won't let you do it. Now, from an insurance company's point of view, even though I don't like it, there is actually an element of truth to it. So when you actually refer to the Association of British Insurers and what they state about it, they actually say that based on statistics, there is a higher probability of you claiming again in the future if you've claimed in the past. Now, the reason to this, again, it's a bit of an oddball one. The ABI put out so much propaganda to consumers that in the event that you make a claim, your premiums are going to increase and you'll lose your no claims, and it might affect you in lots of different ways. It's one of the few contracts you can enter into where it might cost you thousands of pounds that they actually willfully, intentionally, try and stop you from utilising it. So that on the one side of it is something that I find quite farcical. But the flip side of that is that then when you do claim and then you do find out it's actually not as painful as what you think, and then when you do get your premium through and your premium is not increased as much as what you think it is, then it's actually then not as painful. So there is actually this element of truth there where you are probably more likely to claim because it's not as bad as you think it is. So statistically, there is some truth in what they're saying. However, I still disagree with it, because if you're the innocent party, why should you be penalised in some way?
No, exactly. I mean, that's what I'm finding here is essentially you are being penalised for using the service. Now, I understand that there is, there might be some statistics about you being more like, but essentially what it comes down to from what you're saying to me, sounds to me like if you're making a claim, sounds like you're not as dissuaded by all the propaganda against not making a claim. So you might be making a claim in future if you need to. And they're penalising you for that, which is completely outrageous.
It is. It's totally crazy. And the other thing is that clearly it depends on the type of vehicle you've got, and it depends on the area you live in. Because if you've got an old car that, it might be 500 quid for £1,000, you're not going to claim, and you might be third-party fire and theft, you're not bothered about it. But if you've got a brand new vehicle, or the most significant one is a lease vehicle, a private contract plan vehicle, a private contract hire vehicle, where there's limitations in the contract where you get penalised if you return it damaged. So in the event that these vehicles become damaged in some way, you will make a claim. So it seems wrong then that you could be involved in a situation that isn't your fault. You're upholding your duty in contract to whoever it is you've obtained the vehicle from, and then you get penalised financially as a result of it. I just think it's completely and utterly wrong.
So huge thanks to Tim for his advice. Do check out his website if you've got any questions about insurance. Now, if you have suffered an unfair practice of some kind, or if there's something I haven't specified that you think is unfair that insurance companies do please put that in the comments and we can continue our conversation there. Thank you all so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you for the next video.